everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunswick, and we've got an interview today. Woo woo! So this interview, or today's topic, is along the lines of like a multifaceted healthcare facility. I feel like it is not a common dream by any means, but it is a dream that I hear a lot of chiropractors saying, that they want to work in an atmosphere of integration and collaboration. Now, I have a side note on this because holy moly, when you hear about Dr. Aliya's clinic that she's built in a freaking short amount of time, it's going to probably blow your mind and be like, I could do that too, which you can. Like, she makes it seem like super easy. The entire interview, I'm like, no, I need to understand this more because she's making it sound so easy. But along the lines of collaboration, I saw something on social media a while ago that was like, if you one day dream of having a clinic that has lactation services and OB and massage and acupuncture and physical therapy and everybody working together, step one is start working with those people in your town. And it talked about like, you don't need to be under the same roof to start that process of really working together and creating a team atmosphere. You can create a team atmosphere with the OB that's there and the physical therapist that's there and the acupuncturist that's there. So, for those that are listening and are inspired, but like sad because they're like, oh, I don't think I could do that for 5 to 10 years because of whatever, like it can start now and just realize that like God places these seeds of desire in your heart. And that like, it's not, if that's in your heart, that's not in everyone's heart. It's not in my heart. I don't want to have a multifaceted practice. Like, so just in case you're wondering like, oh, but every prenatal and pediatric chiropractor feels that way. Nope, that's not true. I love having OBs that refer to us. I love having lactation people I can send to, but like, I don't really feel the need to have it all under one house. So if you're listening and you're like, this is what I want, good. Keep like watering that soil and like, know that there are steps between here and there that you can take. You don't have to just wait until you one day have a $2 million building, or I don't know how much her building is. It just sounds really amazing. So, okay, before we get into everything, I have to tell you about my neighbor. So there is this weird house on the corner, and it's like this old Victorian. It could be just gorgeous. It was gorgeous in its heyday, but it's really run down. Like, I don't know how many units are in there. Like, nobody's mowing that lawn. It definitely probably selling meth. I'm not sure. But they have decided in the last year that they're going to start, like, because it's on a corner of 2 main streets in our 3 main street kind of town, that's where they're going to sell stuff from their front yard. And so there's weird stuff, but like, for the most part, it's been normal. Some deck chairs, a lawnmower, a kid's slide. So the other day, Kirby's like, I am pretty sure our neighbors are selling an autopsy table. And I'm like, what? How would you even know? Like, I've been in cadaver lab, although those aren't like, what? No, I'm sure it's just like a metal table. No, sure as shit, you guys, it is totally an autopsy table. And they want $450 for it, which like, I mean, props to you that you think that there's enough of a market in our 9,000 people town to just put a creep. It's not new. It like, you can tell this autopsy table has seen some bodies. Like, yeah, it's not new. Yeah, and they're just like, I want $450 for this thing that had been at the crux of many dissections and gross, bloody bodies. Anyway. Yeah, there you go. So there's my weird story. It is there. I will take a picture of it actually and post it, so you guys don't think I'm lying. All right, so let's jump into our listener highlight. I'm gonna edit the name of this one just because it's not a Google highlight. It's not an Apple Podcasts review. It is a private message. So we'll just say this is from Sailor. And it says, "Hi, Dr. Lauryn. I've been meaning to reach out to you for a while now and continued to put it off because I just couldn't find the right words. And to be honest, these probably are still not the right words." I mean, talk about a perfectionist. My God. If y'all are waiting for the perfect review to write me a review, you don't have to. I recently graduated in March, moved back to my small Minnesota hometown, and started my practice this fall. It's been a whirlwind and not at all how I expected my transition from student to doctor to go. Shout out to you, COVID. Oh, and while I have you here, F you. Okay, trying to start a business in times like these have been pretty much everything but easy. I've felt angry, unmotivated, alone, and ultimately have questioned whether or not my choice to become a chiropractor was the right one. No one has made me feel valid in these feelings except for you and your podcast. You are authentic, unapologetically yourself, and have such a genuine spirit. I am so thankful I came across your podcast, your story, and ultimately you. So thank you for sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Thank you for normalizing the hard shit, but providing hope in every share. Wishing you and your family a wonderful Thanksgiving. Love and appreciate you. Okay, so I probably could have left that last sentence out. She apparently wrote this at Thanksgiving. You guys, you know what's sad? I don't know if I ever responded to her. Oh my gosh. Random renamed sailor lady. Oh, I hope I did. Ugh. But there's, you can get lost in my DMs, that's for sure. So anyways, you are probably listening to this. Thank you so much for sending that message. Even if I don't respond, I read them for sure. And just like my heart just goes, oh, thank you. But that also, side note, is if you were waiting on me to get back to you about being on your podcast or talking to your club and you're like, dude, this Lauryn chick's a bitch. She is ghosting me. Nope. I just forgot. I totally forgot because I lost it. And people message me on my work email and my podcast email and my private email and my private Instagram and my work. They're everywhere. People are just messaging me and I'm like, oh, I lost it. Whoopsie doodle. Sorry. And my memory is so bad. Okay. One more side note and then we will get to our host. So we have 2 clinics and we have kind of a crew of people that works in each clinic I work with 2 people. And then there's our one employee who works at the other clinic who comes over to my clinic 2 days a week. They're both my clinics, but the clinic I adjust at 2 mornings a week. She comes over and does the financials, just sits at a computer and does a lot of financial shit. Very, very important job. Now, on one of the mornings, I'm not there. I have that morning off and my other doctor is working. So there's one morning a week where she is there and it's Thursday mornings. And every Thursday, this has been going on for 3-4 months that she's come over on Thursdays to do financials. When she walks in the door, I am giddy and excited because I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot you're working with me today. And it's just this joke because I legitimately am what am I even doing in life? Just walking around how do I not know where my employees are? And how can I not, after months, remember it's Thursday, Abby's coming. But no, I'm just just joyfully surprised that I get to work with her on Thursday morning. So, a wacko. Okay, let's get into it. So Dr. Aliya is in every sense a people person, which is what makes her so good at her craft. Her entire interview is so delightful. I just really liked her right off the bat. So yes, her chiropractic and acupuncture skills are excellent, but it's her ability to connect with her patients, both young and old, that make her extra special. She has a knack for making appointments enjoyable for everyone, and her little patients adore her. She and her sister started an integrated wellness clinic in Toronto called WellBe, and it features chiropractors, naturopaths, acupuncture, 3 kinds of physiotherapy, massage, social work, psychotherapy, and yoga. And she's here today to tell you how she did it. And you guys, if you're expecting a 5-year, it was a grind, and she makes this shit sound so easy. I'm like, wow, it's incredible. It also, the number of staff she has stresses me out. Just because people exhaust me. That's basically why I chose a medium where I'm not talking to people. I'm talking to a microphone and then somehow they listen later. No, people are just exhausting. So I'm like, wow, that's a whole bunch of employees. And then what happens when anyways, I ask all the questions. She answers all the questions. It's great. So before we jump in, take a breath. Let's pray. Dear God, be with the people listening who are going to listen to this episode and go, yes, that is what I want. The world is going to tell them that they are thinking too big, that it is too difficult, that they don't make enough money, and only if they strike it rich in chiropractic can they then go on to build this. Be with them and tell them that is a lie, and that you have placed a seed of a dream in their heart, and that just because it may not happen the first year in practice, just because it may not happen the first 5-10 years in practice, does not mean that you have the plan still in line for them. I feel like so often we get so impatient with, oh, well, God, I got this vision from God, or I got this thought flash in a meditation, but like I made a few phone calls and nothing happened from it, so I must have been wrong. We get so inside our own restrictive timelines, and you're like, I am lining up all the things. Don't you worry. If it is truly from God, it is going to happen. It just may not happen on your timeline. Also, side shout out, God, to all the people listening who are like me and are like, that sounds exhausting. You know what? You do other things that other people in our profession would just do a slow clap. I would clap right now, but Kirby would get mad at me, God. So you can picture a slow clap and go like, heck yeah, you might not be able to have 35 employees, but you created a course for your patients. You teach lactation classes on the weekend. You somehow managed to see 100 people in 2 days because you're home with your children. Oh my God, talk about exhausting. Am I on a tangent in my prayer? Ugh, too much coffee. You know what I mean, God. Be with those people who I don't ever want anyone to feel any shame for thinking big. And I don't want anyone to listen to someone else talking big and feel judgment towards themselves. That's not how we uplift this profession and empower each other to just be who we were placed on this earth to be. So in your name we pray, amen. Yeah, totally got off on a tangent on a prayer. I don't know if that's happened before. I got fire coursing through my veins today, you guys. I just pulpit. I would be a great preacher, but I would get off on total tangents and people would be like, what the hell did she preach about today? I don't even know. There was something about a fish and then she jumped over. Yeah. So with that being said, here is my interview with Dr. Aliya, owner of Wellbe Clinic in Toronto, talking about her badass integrated wellness clinic. Okay, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I am glad we made this work. You being up in Toronto in craziness. We're actually pretty close in geography, but very far in like how our pandemic situation is going on.
Totally. Yeah. No, I realized like how we're not in the same time zone, are we?
Nope, you're one ahead. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. So, but no, it's been, I'm loving being here with you and talking to you. So I'm excited to chat.
Are your kids home right now?
They are.
Homeschooling, learning something super important.
No, God, no. They're upstairs like on iPads. It's the only way I can keep them quiet.
Yep. Just quiet. Just do this. So
yes.
How old are your kids?
So I have a daughter who's 6 and a son who's 4.
Okay. Got it.
How old are yours?
How old are they? They're 6 and 8. So
got it.
But yeah. So like they've been in school kind of, this whole year. Wisconsin has had, we chose to send them. But my 6-year-old keeps like sitting next to people on the bus who get COVID or something. So she's had to quarantine a couple times. So and luckily she hasn't gotten it, but like, it's interesting because she's really acting out right now. And I was talking to my husband and I'm like, well, in the last 3 months, between November, December, and January, she spent a cumulative of 4 weeks in school, just between having to quarantine, and we took a vacation to Punta Cana and like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so it's like, yeah, she's kind of bucking back at like not having structure for a while. So I think kids are going to struggle with this for a long time. But.
It'll be interesting we're in it right now. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out later.
Yeah, I feel for the teachers, but okay. So for those that don't know you, I hate asking this question. It's such a cliche, but like, can you give us your background and who you are and how you got to this place?
Yeah. So I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. I'm born and raised in Toronto. I actually went to school. I went to both undergrad, and my chiropractic degree was done in Toronto as well. Shortly after I graduated, I moved to Australia actually, and practiced my first 2 or 3 years in Australia, wrote boards there. And then we decided it was the economic downturn. So we came back to Canada. And while I was in Australia, that's kind of really where I got my footing in terms of chiro. So I was originally wanted to be a sports chiropractor. As a lot of us can relate, we like that athletic patient who is kind of on the cutting edge, and it was kind of interesting. And then I landed in Australia in a family practice. And didn't know what the heck I was doing there, and got really, really into it. Got mentored by, it was in a small town, got mentored by one of the few chiropractors there. She used to see a lot of pediatric and prenatal and postnatal. She was kind of like that primary care practitioner for a lot of families. And so that's kind of how I got into what I do now, which is family care. And not too long ago, I opened my own practice. We're a family wellness clinic. We work in an integrated setting. I have physios working there, occupational therapists, naturopathic doctors. And so we all work together to help treat families. So essentially, and all that time I got married and had 2 kids. So there you go.
There you go. You summed that up pretty fast. Okay. So when you came back to Canada, did you do more associateship, or did you start then?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I actually came back to Canada, and all of my colleagues were in motor vehicle accidents because it was very lucrative. And so I kind of was trying to get my footing. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I even wanted to stay in Canada. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take this associateship at a rehab clinic, which is I don't know what you guys call it, but it's motor vehicle accidents, right?
Okay.
Like chronic injuries, people in accidents. And I hated it.
I was going to say, that sounds like my worst nightmare. And I'm glad you're in my head. I'm like, don't say that. That is offensive. If she loved that. Okay.
No, I hated every second of it. It wasn't where I wanted to be. I didn't know. It was really hard to get my footing. I didn't know the Canadian system because I had literally the only experience I had was in Australia. But my friends were like, okay, you know what, just do this. It's lucrative right now. But I couldn't stay in it for very long. So I moved out of that and was looking around to open my own practice. However, you're a student, you're paying back student loans. Mm-hmm. I couldn't get there on my own yet, especially kind of what I wanted to open. I knew I wanted to go big. And so I decided, you know what, instead of going big right off the bat, I need to get my feet wet here in Canada. So I associated with a wellness clinic that had opened recently. I learned with them. So I was the only chiropractor there, but I started learning the business side of things.
So you went and worked as the only chiropractor in a integrated clinic.
That's right. So naturopathic doctors and massage therapists and, they treated a lot of different things. It was family wellness, but I was the only chiro there. So I got to kind of set my own way of doing things. And that was really helpful. So, and then in the meantime, I started to really grow my prenatal practice. I started teaching anatomy and prenatal yoga classes. I started kind of really building a following online and Instagram. And that's where it was like a tipping off point. I got to a point where I was hitting a ceiling, and I knew there was 2 options for me. I knew that I could either go on my own and open, which is where I'm at now, or I could continue there, but then do something else, do a side hustle, do something else. I was reaching a ceiling. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to jump in, and I just decided to open my own practice.
So before we talk about you opening your own practice, when you were working in that, were you an independent contractor? Were they paying you? So were you paid on how many people you saw? Were you in charge of doing your marketing? I have so many questions how an integrated clinic works. And so I'd love to hear how it worked there, and then also how it works in your clinic too.
Yeah. So it's interesting because they were also new naturopathic doctors. So I had already been in the business for like maybe like 4 or 5 years, like, 3 years of Australia, 2 years of, motor vehicle accidents. And so they were new. So I basically got to kind of figure out on my own how I wanted to set myself up. I decided to be an independent contractor from them and have a split rate. And then I did almost all of my own marketing because I knew what it took to grow a practice. So I got to learn what it was like for them on the business side. But then on my side, I already knew kind of how I wanted to market myself, what I wanted to niche into. And so I took that on myself. So I was there for 8 years. Lauryn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I started really gaining momentum after I had my kids, right? So like, for everyone out there right now, like who is looking into pre and postnatal care, like it's amazing. It's a great practice. But what really tends to happen is you become kind of this expert when you start to really get rooted authentically in it. And so for me, that meant having my own kids. My first daughter was born, my only daughter. And for some reason I gained a little bit of traction there. People were like, oh, she has a kid. Like, let me go see her. And so I really started niching into family care there again. And then, so that's kind of how I set myself up.
Okay. But you said you were hitting a ceiling. So like, how was that happening?
How was I doing that? Yeah. So I was hitting a ceiling because the clinic was only had one room for the chiropractor.
Oh.
So I could see myself. I knew that I was maxing out on the amount of patients I could see. I also knew that if I taught somebody else how I practiced, then it would be good for me. Right. So like I have a very specific way of practicing. We all do. Right. Like, and I knew what worked for me and I knew what patients wanted. I knew how to connect with them. And so I kind of created this like secret formula, like the secret sauce of how I would treat a patient, how I would follow up, what exercises I would give them. And I knew that in order for me to really grow on the next level, I needed to get 2 or 3 other chiropractors, train them all the same. And then they would see my patients and I didn't have to work so hard, right? Like you're hustling. And I knew I needed to start working smarter. So that's kind of how I was kind of maxing out on my ceiling.
Okay. So then talk to me about this jumping into making your own. And like, so did you start with just like a bunch of people? Like, just explain to me how this happened.
Okay. So this is how this happened. Wow. This is so exciting talking about it. Cause like now I get to look back and go through the journey again.
How many years ago was this?
It was like literally we opened like a year and a half ago, but it felt like the process of it was
6 months before a pandemic.
Totally. I mean, not great timing, but this is how it all kind of went down. Like I knew exactly what worked for the community that I was in. So what I did was I started looking into researching where I wanted to be in this community, in this kind of small area of Toronto. And I had a couple of chiropractors, new graduates, shadow me. And they would observe and I would get a lot of requests that way. I was starting to gain traction on Instagram. And so a couple of them reached out to me and they said, like, can I shadow you? And so a few of them shadowed me and I knew which ones had it, like which ones were really passionate about what I did. So when I opened my practice, I just kind of reached out to a couple of new grads and they started kind of working with me. And so what's really interesting about when we opened Wellbe is we have this really strong mentorship program within the clinic. So we created a program where we mentor new grads as they come in. I teach them we do a one-on-ones every like couple of weeks. We spend time in clinic as well as like on the phone and kind of working through challenges that come up with that they're faced with. And I developed kind of like this way of teaching them kind of how to grow from a clinical side and then also from a more business success growth business mindset as well. And I think that's kind of what really kept us engaged with our patients and growing as much as we've grown is that level of mentorship that they can get from the practitioners themselves, the clinic.
So is the mentorship, like, is there like a set amount of time that a new grad is going to be with you and then you're going to be like, and goodbye? Or
No. Okay.
No.
Oof.
So let's say, I'll take an example. We have this great chiropractor. Her name is Dr. Devin. She's wonderful. She was one of the chiropractors that shadowed me, and I knew right away that she had something that I was really looking for, and I knew she was going to be amazing. So she came to work. She was the first person we actually hired on our team, and now we're a team of 20, not 20 chiropractors, but a team of
Right. Okay.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So we have 20 practitioners working for us at the moment. So what Dr. Devin, she came on and, we started working with her one-on-one to kind of really get a feeling as to where she was in practice right now, what her questions were, how she was treating. And then, I call it like the secret sauces. We started kind of honing her into what we were kind of looking for in a practitioner at WellBe. What's really important to our patients, the experience that they get, the connection that they get, the follow-ups, the exercises, everything on that level. And then as she grows, her mentorship grows too. And then she becomes a mentor to newer practitioners that come on board. And it's kind of like a top-down thing. And she continues to mentor with me after 14 years of practice, you start to kind of get a feel for what the heck you're doing. And so that's kind of what our new grads do when they come on board.
Okay. So how did WellBe start?
Oh,
How did you grow into 20 practitioners?
Yeah. So WellBe started with, all started with the treatment. So my sister had a baby, and I was her chiropractor. And one day she was feeding Noah, her little one. He was I think he was 4 months old, and she went into spasm. She had acute lower back pain as she was nursing him, and she called me right away. She came in right away. I was able to get her into my schedule. And she was like, you know what? Honestly, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have you. I feel like everybody needs a Dr. Aliya. And that idea, that was like the seed that got planted. I was like, what? Wait, we need to make a lot of Dr. Aliyas. I can't be the only Dr. Aliya. I need to make Dr. Aliyas, and we need to grow this kind of practice, this family practice. And so me and her, she's my business partner. She's my sister. She's my business partner.
Education.
She has an MBA.
Okay.
So she has a master's in business. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So literally I have no idea when it comes to money. I would spend money on all the things. She guides me. She tells me what I can and can't buy. And then my side of things is I'm really good clinically. So It's a really good pair up. Yeah.
Okay.
So this one visit that she had, then we were wait, in this area, there's no family wellness. There's no special place you can go to take your kids. All of our practitioners have a pediatric background. And so we wanted everyone to have a family wellness slant. So we were what if there was a space where you would go and there would just be all of the things you could use as a family, because it's not just a kid clinic. It's a clinic that will see people who don't necessarily have kids, but are part of the fabric of the community. And that's what we really, really, really focused on. And then ideas to that came sprouted, things we wanted to have a yoga studio that was just dedicated to kids. We wanted to do some mindfulness classes. We wanted to have parenting workshops. And so that idea just kind of blossomed and grew.
Okay. But how many square feet is it?
So we have 2 levels.
Okay.
And we have 1,500 square feet.
Okay. So you're okay.
We're medium sized.
20 people working in this space, and how do you start? I'm just picturing, all right, I just left my associateship of 8 years. Great. And I am going to how do you start to did you just start with one, you, and once you got to a certain number of patients, you added in how did you add them in?
How did I get there? Yeah. So, I knew after 8 years of practice in this area of Toronto called Leslieville, I knew in Leslieville, I had a pretty steady, stable patient base. I had about 1,000 patients, let's just say. And I knew I was seeing everybody consistently. And I knew I couldn't work 50 hours a week anymore in patient contact. And I knew that if my patients trust me, they would probably trust an associate that I hired. Mm-hmm. So that was the key right there, was knowing that I couldn't go on like this, but knowing that I gained a lot of trust from patients, and the referrals were coming in, right? Like I would get patients from Instagram that were referred by influencers. I would start to get patients of patients of patients, like people's friends of friends of family. And so I started with an idea, which was, I'm going to get I found this space. I'm going to get this space. I'm going to turn it into a level, like a multi-level kind of practice where we have like the lower level and the top floor as well. And I'm going to start off with one of each specialty. So I'm going to get one chiropractor in addition to myself. I'm going to get one massage therapist that was pediatric pre and postnatal. I'm going to get one occupational therapist, one pediatric physio, one pelvic floor physio that did all that, one naturopathic doctor. So we start with one of each specialty. And the way we work is that we have 7 rooms, and each room kind of gets turned over. There's like a morning shift and an afternoon shift. And a lot of these practitioners now work virtually, which is the reason why we were able to kind of have more on, right? We're also open 7 days a week.
Okay.
We're also open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So like we have, like if you need somebody on a Sunday, you're going to be able to see a chiropractor at 4 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. So that's how families work, right? Like That's how kids work. Kids aren't going to get hurt on a Monday afternoon between the hours of 9 and 5. They're going to get hurt on a Saturday at 4 p.m.
Right.
So we just decided, you know what, we are going to stay open, and if people need us, they need us. And that's kind of how we started growing.
Okay. And how are all these people getting paid? So I'm assuming they're just 100% based on what they see.
Yeah. So everything works on a split percentage, right? For us. So we're very, we want to be part of a team. So we don't rent out any of our rooms. Everything is an associate. So an independent contractor that gets paid a split fee.
Okay. So
what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say to you, because I know you guys are, you're in America. We don't accept any insurance.
You don't?
No. So
that was literally my assumption, was that because you're in Canada, well, everything's paid for. They have amazing health insurance. So, cause I run a cash practice. So,
yes.
I don't use insurance, but I feel like America's always Canadians and their health insurance.
Yeah, no, everybody has, extended health insurance. They're you guys the HMO, whatever. But we don't take that. We'll give you a receipt. It's up to you to bill that. So we're a cash practice.
Is that normal in Toronto?
Yeah. So it's normal it's not, you know what? Yes and no. There's a lot of people that are doing insurance. I just felt like the patient that I wanted was somebody that I didn't necessarily want to be following up for insurance money. I didn't want to have a huge accounts receivable. I needed to pay these people. So I was cash practice, and we've never looked back. We've never regretted it. We've never had to say to ourselves, why did we do that? It's just worked out. So we also we don't take workers' comp. We don't take motor vehicle accidents.
How interesting. You did 2 years in and you're just no, we're not touching that.
100%. I was absolutely not. And you know what? Listen, if you are a patient of ours and you get into an accident, we're 100% going to support you. We're going to be here for you. It's up to you to follow your insurance, because I don't want to do your paperwork. So that's kind of where we're at with all of that. I think our time as chiropractors are better spent treating people than doing the paperwork to do all this. I've done paperwork for 2 years. I'm better spent getting my hands on you.
Yes. Speaking of treating people then, with all of these employees, do you what does your normal week look like? Are you adjusting, or are you just managing and training and mentoring humans?
So I am, I do still do contact, patient contact, because I have a really good patient base that I absolutely love. Some of my patients I've been seeing for I've seen them have 3-4 kids. I've seen them get married and then have a kid. And so it's I feel I'm knitted part into the fabric of that community. So I still have patient contact time. I work about, 24 hours a week. Sometimes I work more.
That's a good amount of patient contact time.
Yeah, I still do.
Yeah, that's a lot. So.
I still do a lot. I do. And I think it's important because I still want to be rooted in that framework, right? Like I still want to know what's coming up for other chiropractors that are working for us. I want to know how how people are feeling. I need to experience that for myself. And I really love being a chiropractor, right? Like, you love seeing babies. I don't want to stop seeing babies.
No, that's the best part of the job. Yeah.
They're like what gives me life right now. So, I feel like, I'll always be a chiropractor first and a business owner second. And I think, somebody once told me that if you're really passionate about what you do, if you treat and you put your patient first, then your business will grow and they'll be successful. And I've kind of always held on to that mantra, just like knowing that like I am a chiropractor, I'm so passionate what I do, and that is what's going to lend itself to the growth.
Okay. So do you think, because, again, a lot of employees, it's giving me a little bit of cold sweats thinking about that many people. And would you say in order to keep the amount of like work of a lot of employees down, are you really good at hiring or are you really good at training and like creating a culture?
Ooh, I'm so glad that you asked this question. So culture is really important to WellBe. We spend a lot of, somebody keeps calling me. We spend a lot of time on growing a culture-based practice or clinic. So one of the things that's really, really important for us is being able to hire really good talent. Just give me 1 second. I'm just going to do not disturb myself. Somebody really wants me. So this is how we find people, just so you know, just as our secret of hiring, how we find talented practitioners. We check them out online. We don't advertise for our positions. I have like 1 or 2 people that work with me and we check them out online. We like to have people who are, have a little bit of traction online already. So like they have an Instagram they have an Instagram page or a Facebook page. They're kind of already content sharing. They're sharing information. They're comfortable doing that. I find, when you're doing that and you're really passionate because you're sharing all of that. So we look for people like that. And so we'll just research people online. We'll research people on Instagram, on the internet. We'll Google search everybody. And that's how we found a lot of our practitioners. And then we do, our interviews are really focused on figuring out if they're going to fit within the culture of the WellBe framework. In terms of clinical skills, I feel like that can be taught. You really need a really great practitioner, someone who is able to connect and engage with patients before I'm able to teach them anything else. All of that stuff can be things that we work on for sure. So that's kind of, and the second thing we really love is somebody who can work as a team, right? Like when you have 20 people working to one common goal, they all need to be collaborative and work together. You can't be siloed in your practice. One person can't, like I was a chiropractor, I can't fix everything, right? Like I'm good at some things. And there are some things like I hate treating a knee. Like, let's say, like I'd rather just send my knee patient to like somebody who really loves treating a knee. So we all have our strengths and weaknesses and we all have to kind of work together. And so we really look for someone who can be collaborative with us as well and really help to bring our vision to life. So we actually have a chief culture officer who really he's like our hype man, like he's part of our leadership team. He hypes up all of our practitioners. We do a lot of we do high five Fridays where we shout each other out online. We have a Slack channel. We're constantly doing things to connect. We have Zoom meetings. We do trivia night. It is like a family. And so that's how we keep 20 people connected and engaged.
Okay. So he's not one of the practitioners.
He is our massage therapist.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wait, okay. So when you're talking about like hiring someone in and making sure they're part of the culture, do you use personality tests? Do you just go on your gut? How many people are on the leadership team and involved in like making that decision?
Yeah. So our leadership team right now is, so we have, I'll kind of go through who we have. We have a patient experience manager. We have a community manager. We have education and clinical training lead, and we have a chief culture officer. So those are kind of who we have right now. In
addition to you and your sister.
And so Serena, my sister Serena is COO and I'm the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the clinicians. We haven't yet. I'm also acting as a clinical director right now as we try to find someone to fill that role as clinical direction. And so I guess like sorry, what was your question? What was I talking about?
How do you use a personality? Yes.
Oh, a personality.
I do, luckily.
I was like, what are we saying here?
I'm just like,
what are you talking about? So do we use a personality test? In so much as like, we do in a way. There is like a few that we will send someone's way in case we're kind of on the fence, but Lauryn, honestly, I just have a really good gut feeling about people. Sometimes we ask specific questions. We often do a couple of interviews with them. We get them to interview us often. And so, I mean, with the pandemic, it's kind of all been online. But in the past, we've done a little bit of a meetup, very informally, like coffee chats and things like that. Just because we want someone who's going to be with us long term, right? We're not looking for someone. And so, and the investment in time to get to know us is really important and really key for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So I have another logistics question. So let's say I am pregnant and I call the front desk and I go, I would like to become a patient there. I have some back pain from pregnancy. Like, obviously, I'm not like, even like if you're in a wealthy area, people are not like made of money. Mm-hmm. And if you have all of these practitioners that, yes, they're team for sure. But like, if I'm a chiropractor, I'm like, well, she should clearly start with me. If I'm a physical therapist, I would be like, well, hold up there, Chiro. Like maybe she needs a PT eval. And then the massage therapist is like, clearly her glutes need work. And then like the mental health. So how, like, even in a team culture, like I can't have a $6,000 a week bill.
Right.
So how do you share a patient like this?
Ooh, okay. So amazing question. And what's really interesting is that, on the outset, when Serena and I set up this business, we were like, that might be something that we need to deal with. It has not come up yet. Like it has not, that has not come up for us yet. So I feel like that's a true testament in terms of who we've onboarded. But I'll answer your question. The high level answer is, listen, it's whatever is best for the patient. So if we're able to keep the patient front and center, then whatever decisions we make around that patient will be one in which they will recognize as being authentic. So let me explain. If somebody calls up and is like, hey, like I'm pregnant and I have back pain, I don't know who I should see. Who would you recommend? Our customer experience team, which are the front desk, are really good at teasing out the information they need to make a decision as to who that person should see. So they'll ask you things like, they'll follow up with things like, hey, have you, what kind of pain are you in? Like, when did this start? Hey, have you thought about seeing a chiropractor or a physiotherapist? What are you leaning towards? Do you know anything about these different practices? And if all else fails and they're like, honestly, I have no idea, who should I see? They'll usually say either the physio or a chiropractor, and they will recommend both. Listen, I suggest you see either the chiropractor or the physiotherapist. If you see the chiropractor, if she needs to rope in the physiotherapist, she definitely will. And if you're seeing a physiotherapist and she feels like maybe there's an issue with an alignment, or maybe you need a little bit more work with your pelvis, she'll definitely rope in the chiropractor. Just so you know, we're a collaborative team here. And so we will all work together to get you better. That's kind of what they're seeing right off the bat. From an internal perspective.
By the way, I just think it's really impressive. You can tell the level of, not, I want to say training, like you can tell how much you still have your hands in the like details of this business. And so like, we're still talking logistics. I can't wait to kind of switch to more like the business hat, but like the amount that you were able to just like give an amazing front desk, like script, it was like, well, that's impressive. I think if I were like going to pretend to be my front desk person for a minute, I'd be like, what do they say again? Like, I don't know.
Well, we put into place like a lot of scripting, right? So like policies and procedures, where things go wrong is when you don't have a consistency policy and procedure. So we hire mystery shoppers to make sure our quality assurance is up. We make sure that everybody kind of knows the answers to everything. So that is something that we've worked really hard on, is making sure all of our policies and procedures are very tightly knit together and everybody kind of understands what to do in the case that happens. And then, like I was saying before, like, listen, if I'm seeing a patient and she's exhausted all of her chiropractic benefits, let's just say she's saying, listen, I only have 1 or 2 chiropractic benefits left or sessions left on my insurance. I'd be like, listen, go see your physiotherapist. Let's just like hop on over. Like Haley will see you.
She's still submitting. So
she's still submitting. So she can, so in Canada, sometimes it works like they're all delineated. There's like different pots for each different practice. Mm-hmm. And if it's one big thing, I'll always say to her, like, I'll take her as far as I can go. And if I'm not seeing any results with her, I'm more than happy to refer her. I'd rather that patient get what she needs from the practice, itself, so that she can refer somebody else. So it's all about her and her experience. If I'm helping her and she's not getting where she needs out of me, I'll more than happy refer her to somebody else, because I just want her to feel better so that the practice itself gets a really good reputation.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. It's amazing. It's such a cool, it's like a dream scenario of being able to work as such a team. So
what it is,
you have a lot of wellness people though, too. So they do keep coming back. So it's not like you're the type of chiro that like discharges either.
No. I do a lot of patient education, as does everybody kind of on our team. And so my practice is a wellness-based practice for sure. I see people like the same person, like, there's monthly, there's biweekly, there's even weekly. And so I also practice different modalities. So like I do acupuncture, I'll do a lot of like soft tissue work, I'll do like different things. I also feel like sometimes I'm just part of their family. So they want to see me. Like, it's just like one of those things, like they see their dentist, they're going to see me. Like, it's no different really. And I see all of their kids, or I'll see like the spouses. And so it becomes very like, we have as at the clinic, and I know we've only been open for 1.5 years, but I feel like we're part of that community. We're part of those families' lives. And when we were open fully in terms of our yoga studio, we would see the kids every week, right? Like there would be yoga classes through the week. So they'd come in, they'd bring their kids in, the parents would get an adjustment. The kids would be downstairs doing a mindfulness class. And that's where they'd spend their Thursday night, let's just say, or their Saturday morning. So that's kind of the ideal.
Like included, or are the parents like paying for their kids to do yoga?
Yeah. So that's interesting that you say that. So it is a package deal. Like we'll offer them like a 6 session yoga class package, but we're actually in the middle of offering family packages where you would, you're part of our membership, or we're calling them a well-beer. So you buy a membership to our practice, you get certain sessions, you'll get kids yoga, you get a certain amount of workshops. And so that's, we're in the middle of kind of fleshing out what that looks like.
Yeah. So with a membership, like, would it include like a certain number of adjustments a month?
That's right.
Okay. Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how does the team, like, what's a team meeting look like? Do you guys meet once a week, like as everybody, and discuss patients? Like, how does a team meeting work?
Mm-hmm. So every month we have clinical rounds. So that means that we just assign one person. So the girl, Haley, she's our pelvic physiotherapist. She is the lead of education and training. So she'll organize clinical rounds every month. And so every month we get to meet up the practitioners online right now, in person before, and talk about different cases. And we do a lot of case building strategies, and we work on problem cases together. And so that's kind of how we do a lot of our information sharing and how we do a lot of our case by case kind of troubleshooting. And then every 2 weeks we do leadership meetings. So I'll meet with the leadership team. I mean, my sister and I, we literally talk every single day, like multiple times a day. Yeah. And then every week we get together and we look at the stats, right? Like everyone kind of wants to know where the growth is happening in the clinic. So we have what we call a scoreboard meeting. So we have a scoreboard. We know exactly how many patients each practitioner is seeing, and we'll just discuss kind of what those stats are, what the retention rate is for certain practitioners. And so we can hone in on our marketing efforts if we're seeing that weekly.
So now if you have, okay, hold on, recap for me. You have massage, physiotherapy, chiropractic.
Yeah. So we have 3 different types of physiotherapists: a pediatric physiotherapist, orthopedic physiotherapist, and a pelvic health physio. We have 3 chiropractors. We have an occupational therapist. We have 3 social workers, and 3 psychotherapists. They're social workers and therapists together. We have 2 yoga instructors. What did I miss? We have a naturopathic doctor, and we have an acupuncturist.
Okay. So let's say that you're looking at the stats, and just to toot chiropractic's horn, let's say chiropractic is really getting a lot more traction. Most of the new patients, or like a higher percentage than anything else, is getting those phone calls. Do you then double down on marketing of chiropractic, or do you go like, are we not marketing these other aspects enough?
Yeah. So for us, it's not about necessarily shifting focus. It's just about growing the entire education piece to it. So perhaps like if, let's say, for instance, I don't know, acupuncture isn't getting a lot of patients and we've noticed a trend, we're going to increase the education piece around acupuncture to our chiropractors. We're going to increase the education piece around acupuncture to our physiotherapists. We're going to make sure that they know exactly what our acupuncturist does, as well as patient facing. So we'll make sure that our patients know. We'll do a couple of signage. We'll do a couple of marketing drops. We'll do maybe like a Facebook ad or a Google ad. And that way, then we're working internally as much as we're working externally. Okay. We want to make sure that everybody in the clinic knows that our acupuncturist and what she does and what she's really good at doing.
Okay. And just to clarify, as a chiropractor, I would only get a percentage of people that I adjust, right? So it's not like everybody's getting, like if Wellbe's doing amazing, but like I am sucking and not seeing many patients, I don't benefit from the entire growth, right?
In a way, so the thing is, we've also set aside, this is the thing about growing businesses, is we have to realize that as owners that the business will only do as well as the buy-in from all the practitioners that you have. So if you are a chiropractor working for us and you're not necessarily hitting your numbers or you're doing well, your buy-in's going to go down. Your morale might go down if you see all the other patients or all the other practitioners around you doing better than what you're doing. So we'll hustle and we'll kind of like rally around you to kind of pull you up a little bit. The other thing is that we have to realize that as team members, if the clinic grows, you're going to grow. So we offer incentives. We offer every year, we do a performance plan. We make sure that you're growing and you're hitting your tiers or you're hitting your incentive or your bonus levels. And that changes every year. So you have buy-in. The other thing is maybe you're a superstar, right? Maybe you have we have a chiropractor that's like a superstar chiropractor. Well, we're going to promote her into a clinical director role. And in that, then she's going to get a little bit more, traction from the clinic. She's going to get a lot of business skills, and we're going to give her a fee for being a clinic director. There's like an associated, let's say it's an incentive for being the clinical director. Maybe when we grow, we'll give her a clinic and she'll run that clinic. So I think from where we set up, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just my sister and I that were benefiting from the growth of Wellbe. It was everybody is benefiting from the growth of Wellbe. So you're not just stagnating. You're not feeling like you're isolated. We're going to pull you up regardless, and we're going to see you grow, and we're going to grow with you.
So you mentioned we might give her a clinic. So is your plan to replicate this again on another side in another neighborhood in Toronto? Like, are you wanting multiple of these clinics?
Maybe. You'll have to wait and see.
That's a yes.
I'm not going to say. You kind of want to see growth, right? And so the growth, whatever that means, it may mean that we grow out of our space or we duplicate what we've got going on right now. It's a wait and see game. We're also, FYI, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So
that's the thing, is that you've been open a year and a half, and 1 year of it has been, so you had like 6 months of normal life, and the first 6 months of a business is not normal life. It's insane life. So that's just impressive in itself, that a year and a half and 1 year of it has been in a pandemic. It's crazy. So
Yeah, I know.
Where did all of this entrepreneurial like come from? Are your parents entrepreneurs? Because both you and your sister definitely have quite a bit of intelligence around running a business. And, you know, you kind of glazed over it in the beginning of the interview, where when you came back from Australia and when you were working at the first associateship in Canada, or the only associateship, and you said like, well, I wanted to be able to market myself because I knew what it meant to grow a business. And I think most people would go, wait, where'd you pick that up? Like, you were an associate in Australia, and how do you know? Like, so where did it all come from?
Okay. So yeah, like I grew up with, my dad was an entrepreneur. He owned his own dry cleaning business. My grandfather was also an entrepreneur. And it was a family business. And so there is a little bit of that. We unfortunately lost my dad a few years back. And, this whole entire time he was saying to my sister and I think you guys should open up a business. I think you guys should open up a clinic together. And my sister is very business oriented. I'm very passionate about, people and Cairo. And so after he passed, we really started, the seed was planted, but it hadn't fully grown. And we started thinking about other businesses that we could open up. I didn't really think about, for some reason, Cairo didn't really, I don't know why. I just didn't think about it. And so I think what it comes down to is we both have hustle. You need a lot of hustle to grow this business. You need to be resilient, and we just failure is not an option, So, and half of it is passion and half of it is you fail and then you pick yourself back up and then you go again. So yes, Wellbe is successful for where we are right now in business. But the failures, tried something and it failed, and then we tried again, and then we tried again. And if I were to share exactly how many times we've kind of come up against a wall and then had to pivot, right? The pandemic itself was a huge pivot for us. So I think that is what I would say is the key for me. Is I just have a lot of hustle. Failure is just not an option for me. And so that's kind of where that drive comes from. And from the marketing perspective, I think for me, I don't want to say this. I feel like this is going to come out maybe wrong, but when you know this, Lauryn, when you know that you make a difference in people's lives, when you just get that feeling, you feel pretty significant, you make someone feel better, and that you've maybe got some, you got something. You don't have imposter syndrome anymore. You know that you actually are pretty good at what you do. Well, when you find that and you feel that confidence, it's really easy to market that. It's really easy to feel good about what you're doing. And so for me, the marketing aspect is literally just education. We don't do a lot of salesy marketing. We just do a lot of content sharing and sharing, information. And that's where that marketing edge comes from. So
when you say content sharing, tell me more. I would love to just hear a little bit more about how So it sounds like you find people who are naturally drawn to social media and just kind of want to be in front of people educating. Mm-hmm. So, yes. And then so that's a big piece. How else do you run this marketing aspect?
Yeah. So when I say content sharing, I mean, we're showing you all the stretches you could do for your sciatic nerve pain. We're showing you what our work from home stretches would be like. We're showing you how to sleep better. We're going to show you the acupressure points that are going to help you for stress. We're giving you what you're asking for, what you come in for. And you're like, hey, what pillow should I buy? Yeah. Okay. Like if you have that question, how many other people have that question? I'm going to share that with you. I'm going to provide you with that information that you need.
On Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
So
like what?
yeah. So for me, like, yes, I do a lot of sharing on TikTok. That's kind of become my new platform. We do a lot on social media. Instagram is a big thing for Wellbe. We do a lot of blog posting. We do a ton of newsletters to our patients. We do, we'll do workshops and we'll have them running for free.
But like not in person, right?
No, virtually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
virtually. Yeah. But before it was in person, right? Like we have the space for it. So we'll run those, in clinic. We'll do a lot of collaborations. So Wellbe will collaborate with other businesses or other influencers in the area. We used to participate in conferences. Now we've done a few virtual conferences where we'll spend time setting up a booth online. There's some really amazing platforms out there for conferences, by the way. Just like it's incredible to see what people are doing online right now.
Yeah, it is very cool to see how
so cool.
Things have been forced to pivot. Okay, so let's say that I'm Sarah and I'm one of your chiropractors and I have like whatever following and you hired me. Do you lay out expectations that like I will create a certain amount of, because like I have my following and then Wellbe has their own accounts. So I'm assuming, is the easiest thing that like I'm going to, as a chiropractor, make a TikTok and then Wellbe will just like use that TikTok as well, like double it. And then like, is there a certain amount of information and content sharing that's expected of me?
Kind of, in a way, like when you sign on to us to our, on our Hive, we'll kind of work with you to see where you're at in terms of how comfortable you feel. Like we're looking for someone who is comfortable with educating, because I think that that's really key, but you don't necessarily have to have a huge following on social media. You don't actually some of our practitioners don't have social media right now, but they're comfortable sharing on our platform. So, that's it. And if you're not comfortable, we'll work with you. Like we'll figure out a way that they'll make you comfortable. And after all of that, if you still don't feel comfortable, well, you're going to be writing blog posts for us. Like you're going to be, because that's how you grow. Like that's how people see your name. That's how they'll find you online. Because if we think to ourselves, well, we're just going to do word of mouth, it's not going to work anymore. We're in an age, it's a digital age. We need to be found online right now. And that I think is important to know. If you're a new chiropractor and you're looking to grow, you have to grow digitally as well as in person. And I think that old way mentality of saying like, I'm going to do, a news drop or a postcard drop, it doesn't traction anymore. There's no traction there. It's very minimal. So when you sign on to us, we'll say like, listen, like, how do you feel comfortable doing a couple of TikToks with us? Let's do like 1 or 2 TikToks for our pelvic health physio every week. And she's, taking hers as an example, she's great at doing her own stuff and we'll just repurpose her stuff from Wellbe's account. We want to throw attention to her as well, because if she gets attention, we'll get attention. So it's kind of like that mutual sharing, right? Like she doesn't have to just create content for us. If she's creating content for her platform, we're going to benefit too, because she's going to tag us in it. We're going to repost it.
Yep. How do you keep from like spastic, because within health, like a family health, you could have somebody talking like really on a like platform of ear infections 1 month, but then somebody else is really on a platform of like vegan eating or like, do you have like themes in your marketing that you try like, so it seems cohesive?
100%. We have a marketing team. We have a social media manager and a creative designer, and they both work with us to create a really cohesive marketing strategy. So that's really important. I think like for us, for instance, for an example, is February is Black History Month. So we're going to do a couple of drops on Black History Month, but also February is an important time to focus on sleep because we want to self-care, self-love. So we'll really focus on sleep tips, sleep positions, sleep hygiene, anything that has to do with sleep, melatonin. We're going to talk about that. So we'll theme it out and then we'll repurpose content from other practitioners and we'll tell everybody what the theme is. So if they're going to be creating content and if they want to create it around our theme, then we'll repurpose that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. It's incredible. When Canada opens, I want to come visit.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you do. You need
such a happening place.
Canada or
oh no, not Canada.
Yeah, Canada's not that happening.
No, actually, Toronto is cool.
Listen, shout out to all my Canadians out there. Listen, Canada is amazing. We're kind of sucking right now at the pandemic, but we're going to be back. We'll be back before we know it.
There's a lot of censorship happening, right? Not happening. Okay, well, this is my ignorant American. So over in Vancouver, whichever.
And that is
Providence.
The West, BC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, BC. They were for a little while in 2018 or 19 talking about chiropractors not being able to talk about pediatrics and stuff. And when that was happening, they were saying well, there's another Providence that's already not allowed to even talk about. So is that a concern? I would imagine with a very chiropractors led, the only person who can say the word, immune system is our naturopath. But Toronto and your Providence is still safe and fine.
Yeah, I think with any, I'm going to sound really PC here. I think with any group of practitioners, you're going to have people on one end of the spectrum and on the other end of the spectrum. And creating that cohesiveness has been a challenge in the chiropractic world right now, specifically right now. And so a lot of the times, instead of having conversations with one another, there just becomes kind of a little bit more of a unilateral decision not to do one thing or do another thing. And so I think right now, especially given the nature of the global climate of where we're at right now, we really need to have conversations. We all need to start communicating a bit better, and instead of cutting each other off or slamming each other down, we really need to come together. And what's really interesting is that we've been saying that for so long, and yet it still kind of remains to be seen what we're going to do there. But for us anyway, I think if I can run my practice in a way that feels really true and authentic to me, then that's all that matters at this moment in time. We can talk about all of those other things, and it's an ongoing discussion. But right now, what's really important is how my patients feel, how people feel in the community, and then they can trust us as chiropractors, as practitioners. I just want to make sure that I'm able to be there for them. So that's what I put first and foremost. Just be there for your patient. Whatever comes, it's going to be okay as long as you're able to stay authentic and true to what you really believe.
Yeah. Okay. Final couple questions. Are there any other integrated clinics that you really admire that you kind of used as inspiration? Or did you just be nope, I can't think of anybody. I'm making exactly what I want.
Of course. Yeah. We're definitely inspired by people, and brands. I think when we talk about clinics, there are a couple, but more importantly, we were inspired by brands, right? So we want to be a brand. We have a single vision to be kind of one of those brands that people associate with. So when we talk about clinics, we were inspired by a clinic. We were actually mentored by the CEO of Myo Detox. So I don't know if you guys know what that is down there, but it's big in Canada. It's a physiotherapy lifestyle brand up here. A series of clinics here, and I think they have one in West Hollywood, but they have one all through Toronto. They kept their branding really clean and simple, and very singular. They're there to future-proof your body. That was what they said. Their single line is, and so we wanted to emulate that, but more family wellness. And so that's kind of how it lended itself. Yep. There wasn't one particular clinic, Lauryn, that we kind of centered it on. We took bits and pieces from different things that we really loved, and then we put them together. But yeah, some of the brands that we absolutely love, like, are like the Honest Company. We love that brand and what they stand for. You know, like just really focusing on the conciseness of the vision and mission, what they stood for, and that's kind of how we structured Wally.
Okay.
It's something for parents and it's something for kids.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. So final piece of advice for a chiropractor who wants to have, like, it's currently just adjusting, but they want to have like this under one roof, maybe not 20 people, maybe not that big, but like they want more of a team, multiple disciplinary approach. How do you recommend they like get started? Like, go just hire 15 different practitioners.
No, don't hire random people. No, we don't want that. So this is a really great question. I think find one or two people that you really, you feel like you trust what they do. Like you feel comfortable referring your patient to them, and you have established kind of like this trust relationship where you feel comfortable referring your patient, they feel comfortable referring your patient. Find one or two people like that in your network. And it doesn't necessarily have to be under one roof. You don't want it to be, right? Like before I started off, like I was referring to an acupuncturist down the street, let's just say. And, we had a great back and forth. I have a couple of midwives that I absolutely love, and like they back and forth with me, and a doula that like I love. And so like we back and forth with each other. So it's the relationships that you build. So if you really want to work in multidisciplinary in a practice like that, you don't need to go right away and just like find all these people. You need to find one or two people that you can truly trust and build relationships with and you feel comfortable with. And that's how you get started.
Yep. And then you have relationships and you see that the referral system works, that they're going to refer to you when they think so, like it's necessary, and you're going to refer to them. And so you have this trust. So then it's just like, well, what if we moved into that building together type thing?
Totally. Mm-hmm. And for any new grad out there, it's really important to refer to somebody that you 100% would just send your grandmother to, right? Like you're not going to send them to like somebody that you haven't really been to or you don't know about, because a patient will come back and be like, who the hell did you refer me to? Like who was, and then your credibility goes down. Mm-hmm. So, often sometimes when I was first getting started, I would go see the massage therapist down the street and have her treat me and like go to her several times and like build that relationship. And then she would come see me and maybe it works like a trade. Use the midwife. If you're delivering your own baby, use a midwife that you love, and then refer your patients to that midwife because you've had that experience, and your patients will be like, oh my God, like she used that midwife for her own baby. That midwife was amazing, or that doula must be amazing, and like do it that way. That's key.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
I've loved talking to you. We can talk all day.
I know. Like we're going to need to get some coffee, and yeah, I'll come to Toronto. It's better than Rice Lake where I live. So it's fine.
I don't know. You don't want to come here right now.
Right. Later. Yeah. Maybe later. So, well, I will have Kirby drop your handle and all of your information in the show notes and stuff like that, but also give a shout out where people can find you, follow you, get more of you.
Yeah. So you can where you'll find me everywhere. So I'm on Instagram if you want to follow me at Dr. Aliya Visram. I'm also on TikTok.
And if you get to talk about TikTok.
Oh, we didn't talk about TikTok. Guys, we'll have to have another session and we'll talk about TikTok because TikTok is blowing up. One piece of advice: if you're not on TikTok, you need to be on TikTok immediately. Get on TikTok and just start doing videos and they will go viral. I promise. So you can find me on TikTok.
They will not just go viral.
They will.
I think part of your secret sauce. Okay. Also found a secret sauce too.
2 ingredients to TikTok. Okay. A really good song, and a very short, information-packed video. Those are the 2 secrets. Make it short. It doesn't need to be 60 seconds. Make it like a stretch, 1 or 2, not a lot, and a really good viral song. That is all you need.
All you need.
That's it.
But stretches is mostly what you.
Honestly, for some reason, I went through, I'm in the algorithm of TikTok stretching. So that's where you can find me. But other chiropractors are doing their own thing, and they're blowing up on TikTok. So it's a really great information sharing. So yeah. And then you can find me at hellowellbe.com as well. That's if you want to check out our website and see the amazing people we have. They're up on there as well.
So incredible. Well, thank you so much.
Love chatting with you, Lauryn. Come visit anytime.
That's good. Okay, She Slayers, go follow this amazing woman, and we'll all just like fall asleep dreaming of our cool integrated clinic that we will have in the future. So until next week, She Slayers, bye.